Hi, this is Brandon Moon with Moonlit Fly Fishing. I want to welcome you to fly tying night tonight. Tonight we're going to be tying up the wired bodied caddis jig soft hackle nymph. Okay, this one's going to be tied in an October caddis color theme. You can tie this in a variety of different colors to meet your various caddis hatches that you're going to encounter. We'll show a few of those variations at the end of this video. So before we get started, I want to take and invite you to make sure you like the video, drop us a comment, ask us a question, or just say hi. We'd love to answer any questions. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you receive notifications of future videos. For the hook, we're going to tie this on a wide gape jig hook. This is a ML058. You can tie this on the Moonlit Tagata ML501. We're going to do this in a size 12. For this pattern, we're using the slotted tungsten 3.5 millimeter copper. For our thread, we're using Semperfly's 12/0 fluorescent orange. Okay, we're putting this on a Stonefo Elite disc drag bobbin. This is a great bobbin to add control to your tying experience. So we'll get started and put the hook in the vise. Okay, make sure we want to put that in nice and straight. So we're going to take our thread. We're going to start our thread just behind that bead there. Good couple wraps. Now I'm just going to use that tag end to go rearward. I'm going to try and create a nice smooth underbody to this fly with this thread, creating an even smooth body, touching wraps. We're almost to the bend of that hook. I'm going to snip that off. I'm going to give it another 2 wraps over the top of that. Okay, now I'm going to go forward again. You don't have to do this with this pattern, but I do like it to have a nice taper to it, so I'm going to create that taper with my thread because I can't do that with the wire. Okay, so I'm going to go to the front. Now I'm going to go rearward again. And I'm going to do this about 3 or 4 times. I don't say I do it a specific amount of times because sometimes it just feels right to do it a different amount. So I'm going to stop short of the back end of that hook. Now I'm going to go forward and rearward again. If you don't want to spend the time doing this, your pattern's going to fish just fine without doing it this way. This just is for my visual look here. I'll go forward again. We'll stop again, go forward. I'm going to do it one more time. Go forward. Okay. For the body of this fly, we're using 0.2 millimeter brown Semperfly tying wire. We're going to go ahead and tie this in at the very top here. A little bit of a loose wrap on the first one, then a couple wraps that secure that down. For the other one, it's going to be the other color in the body is the light gold 0.2 millimeter. This one's also going to become my ribbing on this fly. We're going to tie this in on the side here. And this creates a good wrapping sequence. Now I'm going to wrap this thread rearward, okay, to about that 3/4 mark. Go back forward. I'm going to half hitch this. I'm going to set my thread off to the side here so that I can use my rotary feature. I'm going to take the brown that's on top and I'm going to start it with my wrap. Okay, now I've got it. I'm just going to start my wraps with the first couple so that they're laying nice and smooth. I'll wrap it about 3 or 4 times, then I'll pinch that in. Now I'm going to take my rotary I'm just going to wrap the rest of this body. The rotary gives me a nice control. I want to make sure that I'm not wrapping over the top of the previous wrap. It gets a little bit trickier down here at the end of this where I've got that hook point. I've got to make sure and manage. I'm going to go just off of my thread there. Okay, now I'm going to take this brown. I'm going to get in nice and close and helicopter twist that brown out of there. Got a little tag end. There we go. A little pair of pliers sometimes is nice for that. Now I'm just going to continue wrapping my ribbing back forward. Nice even taper to that ribbing as I wrap that forward. I'm just going to wrap that up a couple wraps into where that collar is going to be. Helicopter that off. Now I'm just going to put a couple wraps over that wire and we'll secure that down nice and good. Okay. Now I'm going to take my Wonder Wax. Okay. I'm going to put a little bit of Wonder Wax on my thread here. This is to create the thorax on this caddis. I want a little bit of wax on there. I generally just kind of run my fingers over it. Puts just a little bit on my fingers. For the dubbing, Vicuna dubbing, we're going to be using the fiery brown. This is in their UV selection. I use a lot of this. I like the black and the purple, the lavender, the orange is pretty bright if you want something really bright. So I'm going to take a really small pinch of this and I'm going to create a nice tight dubbing rope. This thorax works and does a couple different things. So I'm just going to wrap this. I like to use my rotary feature when I do it. I'm going to use that to build up my thorax with a nice little bit of a bulge. I'm going to watch kind of where the last little bit of this dubbing is. That bulge is going to help flare out my hackle. Okay. And it's going to give it a nice buggy look in the thorax. For the hackle on this, I'm using golden brown Brahma from Whiting Farms. Okay, so you're just going to pull out a feather similar like this. It's going to look just like this one here. Okay, and then you're going to doctor that feather up so that it looks like this one. Okay, I wrap going away from me, so when I tie this feather in like this, I want a bare stem on that side so that it wraps up against the hook shank, and that gives me better control of my hackle and allows me to really flow those fibers rearward like a nice good soft hackle. So I'm going to take that tie-in point that you've seen, that little triangle, tie that in, cut it off. I trim down my stem as well, and I do that just because I actually like a short stem. I feel like I have a little better control. Okay, now I'm going to use my tie flies, hackle tweezers, to wrap this. I love this on my soft hackles. It's a light hackle, but it grips better than any other hackle plier. So when I wrap this, I'm going to be palmering this rearward with my fingers, as you can see, but I'm also palmering it with the hackle stem as I wrap on top of each previous wrap. Okay, I'm going to give that, I think that's like 2, maybe 3 wraps. Okay, now I'm just going to tie that in. Now I'm going to pull this back with my hackle pliers and secure that down nice and good, a couple wraps. Now I can take and trim this out. I want to make sure I don't trim any of my hackle fibers out of there. Okay, I'm just going to, a few more wraps. This is going to become my hot spot collar on this fly. Okay, so now I'm going to take my loom whip finisher tool here. I'm just going to give it a good couple whips. 1, 2, 3. I'll snip that thread out. Okay. Now I like to take some Solarez. You can use the medium or the thin hard for this one. I'm going to use the thin, and I'm just going to put a little bit of UV glue resin on there and take my bodkin. I use a bodkin. I use this Griffiths one, and I use it just for this purpose, just so that I'm not using my nice bodkin for something like this. I'm just going to smooth all that UV resin out over my bead and into my thread. This is going to give this got some dubbing fibers there, it looks like. It's going to protect my bead and make it nice and shiny, make it a really, really bright spot for the fish. Now I'm just going to take my UV pin here and cure that up. Just cure it nice and good. You can see how bright that is. That hot spot collar is going to work great. So here you have the wired bodied October jig soft hackle nymph. You can tie this up just as a wired bodied caddis jig soft hackle nymph with a different variation in colors. Again, thank you for watching tonight. We want to invite you to leave a comment, like the video, ask any questions, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive future notifications. And we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday night for our next tying night. Have a wonderful evening.